Guys, today we are going to be finding some Amanita muscaria, or better known as the Fly Agaric. And these are probably the most famous mushrooms in the world. They're the red ones with the white tops, and they are commonly known for their kind of hallucinogenic and dissociative effect that kind of, I guess you could call, leads to euphoric realization for a lot of people. And so we are going to be finding those in the forest today. And then, yeah. So a little bit of history behind them. They're very in kind of Christmas culture in that, just because the colors of them match Santa. And the reindeer used to eat them and supposedly get really zonked out and dance around. And even other people would take them and dry them out on trees and then eat them and probably get really zonked out too. So what I'm going to be doing is harvesting them. Obviously, don't eat these. Disclaimer, you shouldn't eat these because they're bad and you could die. Even though I've only found one actual case of a 44-year-old dying when he bought some online and ate way too much. But, but you can die. So, a little bit about the science with them. So they have two compounds. There's muscimol, which is the one that gets you zonked out, and then there is the toxin. And what you want is you want to be able to remove the toxin, or I guess kind of convert it into muscimol, which is through a process of drying out or dehydration. And then there's a lot of other ways to do it, but I think the most potent way is boiling, and then you remove the solids out of the boiled water, and you try to distill it down to less water, and then you can get like some extracted muscimol. There are other ways to do it. That's the most well-documented way. There's like PDFs online, official PDFs on that, which is the only ones I could really find. But there are a lot of undocumented ways. I've seen looking around the internet. I saw one guy who just picked it straight off the ground and ate it, which is a really bad idea. I saw they just picked it, they cooked it up and fried it in butter and salt. Also, I don't think it's the best idea. There obviously are still toxic qualities in the mucil and the other toxins. But I'm pretty sure that there is less toxins in the mucil when you convert it. So it's still dangerous, it's just less dangerous. And there's something called ibotonic acid, and that's the stuff that the supposedly is the toxic part. And you want to try to get rid of as much as that as possible, which is where the actual name Fly Agaric comes from, because to get rid of the stuff, you could ferment it in milk, which drew a lot of flies and supposedly killed a lot of flies, which gave it the name Fly Agaric. But people thought it was like fly killer, but what it really was converting the toxins to mucil. And there's some other ways to do this, like boiling and putting it in other fermentation processes. I think the best way is to obviously do the thing where you dehydrate it, powderize it, boil it, and then put some acid in, like vinegar, and then distill it. I think that is generally the safest way to go about it, but still not 100% secure, and you could have negative health effects. But I'm in a New Zealand pine forest and walking down this road looking for little red tops with little white spots on them. A little pan, and I just spotted one down here. So, I don't know if you can see it. Just in here is this little guy. Now, this is a Fly Agaric, commonly mistaken for the non-Fly Agaric one, which doesn't have this little ring around the top, but you can see this one's old, pretty dried out. It's a lot smaller. You're not going to get much out of that. So we are going to place it back so that it can populate again. There we go. I forgot what the word is, but they are, I think, mycelia. They like to connect with the forest around them. That's why they're mainly in birch and pine and a couple others, because they connect with all the roots of the trees and help clear out the bad stuff, while the tree provides them with, I think, glucose and sugar. Yeah. Here we have another type of mushroom. This is, I'm not 100% sure what these are, but looking at the shape of them, they're quite common in forests like this, and I'm pretty sure the name of them. Let me check. Actually, I don't know the name of those smaller ones. They look extremely similar to a lot of other mushrooms, and I've tried to figure out the name, but I think you would need someone who more knows what they're talking about. And especially with dealing with mushrooms, you should be careful. And then there's these guys here. These guys are Hebeloma crustalliniform. And these guys, let's see if I can get a shot. These guys are toxic to eat. Not deadly, of course, but toxic. Probably deadly if you eat enough of them. They're pretty popular around here. And yeah. So you can see there's a lot of variety growing in these pine forests. And here we go. We got another Fly Agaric. This little guy, still very dry, very old. I think if we want to find some better ones, we may have to go down there a bit. So let's make our way down. Okay, now down here we've got definitely a much younger Fly Agaric, and if you look at the bottom, it's not insanely young, because usually there'll be a white thing blocking the gills when it's still just growing up, and you can see all these little white spots on it. that's when it was first coming out of the ground. That was its kind of egg. And then as it expands, all the white spots are all kind of around it. It does have the ring. This is definitely Fly Agaric. And there is another one right here with less white spots. It looks like a lot of them have been washed off. It's got the ring down here, so we know. And it's a bit of an older one as well. I'm definitely looking for some more bigger ones, but this one definitely isn't bad. So we're gonna bring this one with us. Just because if it's kind of hard to tell on the size, but if it's got the ring developed around here and no white embryum blocking the gills, and it's already, you know, started to expand, they will just expand at different sizes. Because if you look over here, even this one, much older one, trying to get all wrinkly, it's still very small. So the size is kind of relative. All right. Now back up the cliff. All right, now if we keep going up here, you can't always check right next to the side of the path just because those obvious ones will be picked. Sometimes you gotta go around the edge. If you look perfect little specimen. And these are much closer to the size that we are looking for. Not too old, they're not starting to get wrinkly or anything. Nice little patch. This one looks like he got decapitated. Left a piece of him. But we are going to take these guys with us. Actually, these are quite good, very developed. Just starting to get wrinkly on the sides, and yeah, good, decent size. A lot of times it's based on where you're at and what time of the season it is, but for where I'm at and with winter just starting, this is actually a decent size. There's a lot bigger around here, but from what I've seen, this is a pretty good size. And if we keep looking, some more of these guys. These are okay. So these, they look quite similar to slippery jacks and are often mistaken for them because of the kind of gel stickiness it produces on the top, especially after it rains. That's why you can see all these little twigs stuck to it. But they're actually Sullius granulatus, which you can kind of tell by the more spongy undertone here. And you got to be careful because when you eat these, you want to peel off the top because the top of it is actually a laxative. And even just by touching it and then eating food, it can have laxative effects. But yeah, so you want to peel the top off when you're cooking it. I heard it's a lower quality mushroom to eat, but it's still edible, of course. And yeah, so yeah, where'd this guy come from? Let's run back. But yeah, so definitely gonna have to wash my hands before eating. I've made that mistake before. And let's keep looking. See, another one of those, some more of those guys. A very big, decent amount of them in the pine forest, as well as they can grow quite bigger. It would be nice if the Fly Agaric grew as big as those. Fortunately not, though. At least not where I'm at. Now here we've got a bunch of young ones. So let's check if the ring is developed, which You can see it's not, and you can see how you can't actually see the gills on this one. Same as this one. And the ring is starting to develop, but you still can't see the gills. They have it's kind of hard to see, a little white embryo. I don't know what the name for it is, but it's a little white wall that will break down as it expands. But right now, I'm just gonna leave those and let them develop. From what I know, you can still use them, but I'd say you should just wait till they mature. Then they're much bigger and much better. This one, we've got a ring. He's a little bit more dried out, but this is definitely still usable. So take this guy with us. Looking down here, can't really see anymore. Yeah, we'll just leave these guys, especially when harvesting for mushrooms. You don't want to take too much, just because and so you don't want to take too much. Here is a example of a bigger one of these that's definitely a lot more moist on the top. You can see it's collecting a lot of those. Oh, it's actually torn out. So as you can see, it's a lot bigger. It's collecting a lot of these, and it's very moist on the top. But yeah, it's very spongy. This guy's already been ripped out, so leave him there. Supposedly they can go for like a good bit of money if you get a lot of them. I don't know why, but here we have a good little patch. First we'll talk about this guy down here, which is, I think he is called a gray knight. And this guy, a gray tricholoma. These guys are not okay to eat. Also semi-poisonous, I'm pretty sure. Then we have this guy who looks like he got crushed by some brush in there. And this one, it's started to form kind of more of a bowl shape, so it's starting to get older, but still pretty moist, and you know, definitely edible, 100%. So we'll take that guy with us. Check him out. And then there's another little patch over here. Looks like a younger one that hasn't developed a ring yet, so we'll leave that. But this guy looks pretty prime. Oh, just nicked him on a branch there. But yeah, this is kind of what you're looking for. It's definitely not started to get too wrinkly and dry, but it's also flat, big enough, you know. This is about as good as it, or I guess you could say as ripe. A lot of times you'll want, you know, if you're looking for a prime example, it'd be a bit bigger, but yeah. So a couple in there. Well, let's keep looking. So here's an example of a much bigger Sullius granulus, and his little family over here. A lot of them. Again, when you're touching all these mushrooms, make sure you're not touching your face or remember what you're touching, so you can kind of wipe it off with the disinfectant cloth, just because when you're touching so many species and that, you really don't want to touch your face, or like start itching your nose or anything like that, just because it can have some side effects. Again, when looking for these guys, you kind of gotta wander off track a bit, just because they are very bright red and spotty, so the closer ones usually end up getting picked. So we're gonna do a bit of bush bashing through here. Got a little guy down there. He's ripe, so we'll take him. He's just starting to dry out. we'll bring them with us. Yeah. And if we keep going down over and across here, I see some other pretty dried out ones. I don't know if I want bush bash too far in, just because, you know, sometimes they'll be in a patch. There's another more dried out one, a little bit too dried out. But sometimes they'll be in a patch and sometimes they just won't be. And so you'll bush bash down half a hill expecting to find some. And it's kind of easier just to cover more ground. So because of that, we're just gonna keep going. And I'd say the best strategy is to just walk along the edge. Got another one. This guy looks like he has a bit of a chunk taken out of him. The best is literally just to walk up on the edge and look down. And just like scan and see if you can spot any. Just because we cover way more area. And you know, these, even though they're easy to spot, and I think that means a lot of people take them, there's just a ton of them, you know? And them being easy to spot, if you get the high ground like this, you can pretty easily spot one like that one down there. Got pretty big solid granulus right there. That looks like a pretty good one down there, and there may be some more over around here. So we're gonna slide down this hill. Gonna totally eat shit. Definitely shouldn't be doing this in Crocs, but that's okay. We got one little guy here. Check for the ring. Yep, this guy's ready. And if you're wondering why I'm always checking for the ring, even on the more developed ones, is because there's a really similar species called the ringless ones, and supposedly they are different. So yeah. All right, yep. We go down a bit more. Here we go. Another one right here. Little guy. I'd say he's bigger than some of the other ones we found. And yeah, time to climb back up. Okay. Now that was just a quick video on finding the Fly Agaric / the Amanitas, Spamanitas, I don't even know, in a New Zealand pine forest. And hope you guys enjoyed. It's a cool video. I'm definitely not going to be eating these or doing anything I shouldn't with them. Disclaimer. And yeah, definitely do your research, especially when it comes to mushrooms. These ones are kind of hard to mistake, but there is a really similar, whiter looking version of these called the death caps. And by the name, you do not want to eat them. So do your research. And ChatGPT doesn't count. And the little AI scanner plant app doesn't count. So if you take a picture of the mushroom with the little scanner and say, what mushroom is this? That doesn't count. You gotta actually do the research. But yeah, other than that, just do everything cautiously. Pretty awesome to forage for like mushrooms and stuff, and love being in a place where there's so many different types and so many cool things around here. But yeah, take it easy. That's the end of the video.